Welcome to the Thriving Farmers Podcast, where our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable and sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Today's guest is Jenny of Dogpatch Urban Gardens, which is an urban farm located in Des Moines, Iowa. Dogpatch Urban Gardens is on 1 acre of land in a residential area, and roughly 1/4 of that acre is under cultivation. The farm is in operation for 3 seasons and specializes in growing annual vegetable crops focused on salad-oriented crops. All crops are grown using organic methods. I've been out to Dogpatch Urban Gardens, I believe it was last year, and took a quick tour. It's a great operation. Jenny runs a very clean ship. Everything's neat and tidy. And the beauty of the operation is the customers come right to the farm. They have a great retail location there, and they're going to be adding ready-to-eat foods this year. And so it's a super wonderful opportunity for the neighborhood to kind of support what Jenny's doing, and they do. It's great to see the repeat customers, she says, coming back time and time again. So I hope you'll find this a exciting listen. And, we talked about some great stuff. We talked about how important planning it is into what Jenny does on a weekly basis. We talked about farming with kids. We talked about how Jenny is dialing in her marketing to be able to reach new customers and even grow the farm even further. So I hope you enjoy listening. And this was a exciting episode to record. Welcome to the podcast, Jenny.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and just give us a brief introduction of you and your farm, because your farm is a younger farm, but you guys have done a lot in those couple of years. And I just wanted to kind of share that success story with our audience.
Sure thing. So my farm name is Dogpatch Urban Gardens, and we just finished up our 3rd season of growing. We're located in Des Moines, Iowa, and we are an urban plot. So I grow on just about 1/4 of an acre, and the amount of land that we grow on our farm property, or that we own, it's about 1 acre. But like I said, we grow on 1/4 of that. Other things that we have at the farm, we have an on-site Airbnb, which we call the Urban Farm Stay. We have an on-site farm stand where we're selling our product and then other people's products. So we're kind of like a locally sourced outside aisles of a grocery store. And then we have green space, which we are working to get that landscaped and fenced so that we can host events at the farm. Some of my main retail avenues are our Doug Farm Stand. That's our biggest moneymaker. We have a CSA that's modified called a salad subscription. I sell to local restaurants, and then I also work with a local food co-op as well.
Cool. So you're quite diversified while still farming on a very small plot.
Correct.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the farm stand, because I know that's something a lot of people think that would be attractive. Tell us how that works for you and kind of how do you fit that into also being a full-time farmer?
Yeah, so I would say the farm stand, in terms of our sales, about 75% of our gross sales are coming from the farm stand. And so we're selling our product directly through the farm stand, but then we also work with over 20 different growers and producers to sell their product as well. So this season we just finished the end of mid-November. It was our last weekend to be open for the season. And we were open 4 days a week with kind of limited hours. So Thursday and Friday, we were open from 3 to 6. And then Saturday and Sunday, we were open from 9 to 1. And we're still trying to figure out what the right amount and days of hours to be open are. We'll tweak that next year, but we want to accommodate our customers, but I also don't want to be working the farm stand all day, every day. We do have farm stand employees. This year we employed 6 different people, and they would work once or twice a week. So it's just kind of a fun gig for them. Everything we sell is from the state of Iowa, and it's all seasonal. So, you're not going to come to our farm stand and buy, for example, an avocado, because we're not growing them here. And it's really kind of turned into a real popular place for people to come do their shopping. And I think people really enjoy the experience they get when coming to the farm stand.
Yeah, compared to going to the grocery store, you got a lot more going on, and it'll be a heck of a lot more fun than those sterile aisles.
Oh, for sure. And people, so we have on-site parking. We also have parking across the street from a church. They let us use their lot. And as you're walking in to go shop for your food, you can see where it's growing in the ground. And we've even had moments where, like, someone wants a green tomato and we don't have any, so we just go pick them off the vine for them. I've taken kids out to the field to pick some carrots just for the experience. So I think that's one big selling point for us. And I'll probably say this over and over, is the experience, because truly people can go to the large grocery store and get similar product. So there's a reason why they come to us.
Absolutely. So you're creating that farm experience. And I know that's something that a lot of people as farmers don't understand, is that, half of what you're selling is creating that emotional connection with your customer and letting them be a kind of a part of your thing. What other ways do you try to do that on your farm?
I think our salad subscription is another example of a farm experience that people really enjoy. And it's essentially a CSA that's modified to fit the crops that I grow, because I'm really just focusing on leafy greens and some other crops that fit well in salads. So our salad subscription members, this fall we had 35 members, and they're kind of like, our rock star people. I treat them like gold. They get the weekly emails, they get the specials ahead of other people, and I just make them feel wanted and special and give them exclusive offers that I don't give to other people. And so they really value that, and that's just one kind of perk they get for being a CSA member. We're also really focused next season on getting more workshops and getting people to the farm for reasons other than just to buy food. And so just giving them more value with our land. And we also want to do farm to table dinners. And once again, just more experiences, some memorable things that people can connect to our farm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's important. So let's talk a little bit about your farm systems then. So you're on 1/4 of an acre. Mm-hmm. How do you bring in fertility? Do you have a local compost source or?
Yeah, so I will say that I think that's one big void in Des Moines, is our local compost I'm not very happy with. So I work with a farm that's about an hour north of me, and they provide Cow's Mo compost.
Okay.
From Wisconsin. And so I'm getting Cow's Mo from the farm that's about an hour from me. So this season, I think they delivered about 4 times. And unfortunately, I'm just getting it by the bag because we don't have large equipment to move around, truckloads or anything like that. So we're just bringing in fertility essentially by the bag. And it works at our scale and it's doable. I know it's probably not ideal, but that's kind of where we're at. And another big issue we've found is with our being urban and our plot size, we don't have a good compost system of our own. We just don't really have the space for it. So we're trying to accommodate that a little bit better next season, but that's a hurdle with our urban setup.
Yeah, that definitely could be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So you also do some covered production. Now, do you use the covered production more to extend your seasons, or is it more to just allow you to go year round?
I would say to extend the seasons. We got the NRCS grant, so we built the 30 by 72-foot high tunnel about a year ago in May, and that has been fantastic. And I truly love growing undercover. And so we're in zone 5B, and so I pretty much have product, I would say April through Christmas, somewhere around there. And then I'd purposely kind of take a little bit of the winter off just for some downtime and sanity for myself. But that, just having that extended season, really, restaurants love it. And it's a great way to just keep business rolling longer into the off season. Next season, we're expanding onto someone else's plot in our neighborhood, and we'll be getting 2 caterpillar tunnels. So I have really found that growing undercover is my preference. We've had a lot of dramatic rain events this past season and lost crops because of it, where we're getting like 5 inches of rain in 3 days, and our plot just can't handle that water. So having more protected crops is really advantageous for our setup.
Yeah, I know that, like, especially the Midwest tends to get these nasty storms, and that can really cause issues.
Yes. So I'm hoping to prevent some of our crop loss in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the, the kind of the romance of farming. Why do you farm, and what got you into it? Because I know you've only been farming there for a couple of years.
Yeah. So before I was a farmer, I was a high school science teacher, and I taught at our local Catholic school where I actually graduated from. Loved the job. But in the 6 years of teaching, I had 3 little boys and was just kind of feeling like my heart was not into teaching as much as it should be. And it's all just kind of a serendipitous way this all worked out. But the land that we farm on is about 2 blocks away from our personal home. And that happened to go for sale by owner. And my husband sells real estate and he also flips homes on the side. So we just kind of got our wheels spinning with this idea of we could buy the house, he could flip it, it could be a rental property, I could farm the land, I'd have more flexibility, I could be with my kids more. And we got this idea and we just dove in. The way we started this business is not what I would like fully recommend people to do, but it has worked out for us. We just took this leap of faith. How did I get into farming? Health has always been my background, and it was more like physical health, not necessarily like farming. But one huge mentor is Curtis Stone, discovered his program and his systems, and that inspired us. And we just kind of said, let's do it. Des Moines doesn't have something exactly like what we're doing. And being kind of entrepreneurial spirited, we just dove in and gave it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's definitely one way to go about it.
It is. And like I said, I don't think I would recommend it to other people, but it has worked out for us.
Yeah. So you do have young children. How do you manage farming and them? What tips would you have for other young families that are starting farming?
I feel like that is the golden question because I don't have all the answers to that. And I can say that, so we've been farming for 3 years now, and every year it's gotten easier. And
Okay.
a lot of that comes down to I'm just understanding how to farm better and more proficient. And so I can use my time better so that I have more time for my family. Some things that we kind of make a point to do is like when I'm on the farm working, my kids are not there with me. I think people have this like picture in their head, this like idealistic farm where the kids are running around and you're farming, and that doesn't work for me because my kids are 3, 5, and 7. If I'm trying to get anything done, I can't have them with me because it'll just be crisis control the whole time. So I'm working without them at the farm. My farm schedule, it varies depending on the season, but in the summer, I'd probably work from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also in the summer, I never worked on Fridays. I was always home with my kids on Fridays. So I try to really find and set the boundaries. And it's not perfect by any means. I think one difficult part for both my husband and I, because he sells real estate, so he's working all the time as well, is just being able to shut off. There's always something to do, always something on your brain. And actually what we just did recently is we moved one of our sons downstairs with our other 2 kids so that we could turn a bedroom into an office. And so now we have a workspace to get away and focus. Because prior to having this office, we would sit at the kitchen table and work, and then kids would want something or nag at you, and then you get angry at your kids because you can't focus, and it was not healthy. So even just creating a workspace away from other people has helped quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So then so you're working from 6 to 1, and then Fridays you're off. So then do you have employees that man the stand during that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, my big thing was to try to get away from the farm stand this season, which we did.
Okay.
I only worked at the farm stand maybe like 5 times all season. Now I would periodically pop in and I would help with setup just because I like doing that and I like interacting with my customers. But I wasn't the one that was in charge of running that show. And that has been really great. So really when I talk about like my hours, that was pretty much in the actual field working. And I think next season, I'll try to even step away more and not be as in the field. Next season, we'll have our new commercial kitchen up and running. So that's going to shift the focus of the business. And I imagine being more present in the kitchen. So there's going to be a lot of evolution from now till next season as well.
Yes. Okay. So then kind of what I'm getting is you figure out a section on your farm, you then hire someone to manage it, and then you step away and start working on something else.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way of putting it. Even with the field, I've had my employee, Kate, she's been with me since the beginning. She started out as a volunteer and now she's a paid employee for the past 2 years. And if I have to be gone, I know she can still run the show. So I really, one of the best things that's happened is finding the right employees that you can trust and take care of the farm while you're not there. Even if it's not perfect, it's still going to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something key that we teach is that to build a sustainable farm, you have to build other people into your farm besides you, or else you're just going to burn out.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, even this fall, I fully admit that I was just not feeling it being in the farm nearly as much. And I didn't feel like I was working the way I should have been working. So Kate really took a lot of that load off of me and allowed me to do other things. So for example, I'm in a business class right now. It's called Venture School through the University of Iowa. And that's pretty demanding on my time. So I'm still working and educating, but less in the field.
Gotcha. That is so cool. Yeah. So as a farmer, getting to that point, there are endless tasks to be done. How do you make sure to focus and tackle your most vital priorities each day?
I'm a big list person. I really have to write things down, and I find such joy in just crossing something off a list, which I think many people work that way too. So it's not something that's totally like out of the norm. But Sundays are good days for me. So typically on a Sunday, I would like to go kind of get to the farm stand early and help get it set up. And then that's when I wander the field. That's when I take inventory. And that's when I really get my brain kind of focused on the week ahead. So Sundays are the days I would reorder inventory for the farm stand. Sundays are when I would make my list for field tasks. That's also when I would send out my fresh sheets to the chef. So I just would find my routine, and Sunday seemed to be the best day to get a lot of myself prepped for the following week.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's that key kind of reset time that you take every single week is so important.
Yes. And if I would miss a Sunday or like sleep too late or something, I felt frazzled. So I'm someone that really needs structure, and I really do better with structure.
Gotcha. Now, to that point, what are some of your daily habits that you believe contribute to your success?
One thing that kind of stands out to me is I'm a morning person.
Okay.
I feel like many farmers are, just especially, when it gets hot and you just have to get things done, you do it in the morning. But right now, I've been waking up about 5:15 every morning. I go to our gym, I work out, and then I get home around 7:15 just to get my kids going to school and everything. And that time, I have found that when my health is on point, then life is just better for me. So when I'm eating right and taking care of my body, I'm a happier person and then more productive. So I can really pinpoint that I can be the best person I can be when I am healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then making sure that you can build the margin in so that you can last through the entire season. Because that's another thing I see is people work crazy all spring, get burnt out around August, and then they really flop in the fall. And I feel that there's so much money to be made in the fall and into the holiday season because that's when consumers really want to buy.
Oh, it's so true. And I mean, people are still trying to buy our product right now, even though we technically closed the farm stand. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned was Curtis, who's one of your mentors. Tell us about one of the most influential lessons you've learned from one of your mentors and how that's helped you become the farmer you are today.
Gosh, I have so many people in my life that have been really influential for me. I think one big thing I took from Curtis was just his approach to how to run the business side of the farm. In his online course, it's essentially split into production and business. And I get so much value just from the idea that you're not really a farmer, you're an entrepreneur, and you have to know how to keep your books and how to get your clients and those sorts of things. There's so much value in that. So that's what I've really taken a lot from Curtis. Growing up, I was a jock. I was a collegiate basketball player. And one of my biggest mentors, who I didn't personally know, but I loved her. Her name was Pat Summitt. She was a women's basketball coach for Tennessee. And she always said the quote of work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. And I know she's not the one that like made the quote up. It dates back to someone else, but that's one of those things that really sticks with me because I don't know many farmers that don't work hard. I mean, farmers are innately hardworking people, but it's not always about working hard. It's about working smart. And that resonates with me when I'm doing field tasks. How can I make this easier, more efficient?
Yeah. We use the phrase, more effective, not efficient.
Yes. Same idea. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So talking about going back to the beginning of your farming career, if there's a magic reset button, what systems would you go back and put into place sooner rather than later?
That's a good one. So I will say that I took Curtis's course before starting my farm, which was so valuable in getting a lot of systems in place. Because my background is not in farming, I just, dove in. So it was all starting from scratch. So his course was very helpful in that. One thing that I think about is wash pack and how so much of your time as a farmer is spent in your wash pack setup. So I think it's really valuable to get that set up in the cleanest, most efficient way possible right out of the gate. And especially too, when you think about food safety, like you put money into your wash pack system so that it flows efficiently. It's easy to clean. Like for example, last season, we just put cement down in our wash pack and it's just so much nicer. So I would say in terms of systems, get that really set up and honed in.
Yeah. I remember because I was out there, was it last spring sometime? And we kind of went over that.
It was last January because we were doing the Practical Farmers of Iowa conference.
Yes.
And so we hadn't started any of our construction yet. And I would say we started it then in March. And it's been so nice to add those new facilities.
Yeah, I'd love to see some pictures of how it turned out.
Yes.
One challenge that many farmers face is finding, hiring, and keeping great teams. What strategies have you implemented to bring the right kind of partners?
I've really been quite blessed on my situation in finding my employees. One huge advantage is the fact that I'm urban. So I'm in a highly populated area, and if people want to work for me, they generally live near me and they're not having to commute to rural areas. So that to me is very awesome. And every employee I've had has come to me and said, hey, I want to work for you. So I have not had to advertise we're hiring yet. That being said, I'll be doing that this winter, because we're going to look for a kitchen manager. But I've had people come to me. For example, Kate, she volunteered for me year one. She just loved what I was doing, and now she's an employee. My summer employee, the same thing. My farm stand employees, most of them had just shopped at the farm and said, hey, I'd like to do this, for a little bit of time. So I've really been lucky in that regards.
That is so fascinating. Yeah, because you're urban, there's so much bigger of a pool to pull from than if you're very, very rural.
It's very true. Because, one huge barrier is just, getting to the farm or having a place for people to stay, and we don't deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move into talk about your marketing. You've talked about the different avenues you have. What do you find is the best way for you to communicate with your customers? Is it through social media, through email, or are they just driving up?
Yeah, I think a lot of it kind of depends on what your goal is with the marketing. And this is something that my classes really helped me understand more. And we use the term get, keep, or grow.
Okay.
Are you trying to get a customer? Are you trying to keep a customer? Or are you trying to grow your current customer base? And so depending on what your goals are, there's different avenues that work really well. Social media, I think, is fabulous. And I find so much value in it. Personally, I use Facebook and Instagram, and I'm able to reach quite a few people, just at a click of a button. And so there's tons of value in that. And I think I'm by no means an expert, but there definitely is value in running ads and targeting certain groups. And that's one thing I've really recently discovered are my different customer archetypes.
Yep.
And I've got really two key groups that I focus on now. One's more like a stay-at-home mom that has kids that she's trying to feed healthy meals. And then my other archetype is a retired woman that used to live on a farm, can no longer do that, is now urban and loves to cook. And so a lot of my marketing ads go to those two different archetypes, and I try to target them in different ways. So I think when it comes to marketing, you have to know your goal, your purpose, and also then who you're trying to reach.
That is key right there. Yeah, that's really interesting that you've actually dialed those in and know exactly who you're trying to reach, and then that all your marketing can kind of focus around reaching those two types of people.
Yeah, and I gained those archetypes. I understood that through my business course that I'm taking right now. And one key thing they did is we had to do customer discovery interviews.
Yep.
So I had to go out, and I've talked to about 50 to 75 people, and I just asked them questions about how they grocery shop, what they eat, why they eat. I didn't specifically talk to them about my farm,
Yes.
but those questions were so valuable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's something I think every farmer should do. So you built a lot of strategic partnerships where you're bringing in other people's product for your farm stand. I mean, how do you find those? Are you just going to the farmer's market or do they come to you?
Yeah, it kind of varies. So starting off, it was a lot of just market research of going to the farmers markets or going to a local health store. Another key resource for me is our local food co-op. So starting off, it was just kind of diving into the world and talking. And I think so much of what our farm does well is it builds our community. And so just being a member, supporting and diving into other people that are doing similar things has really helped us to be successful. And then it's all about building relationships. So in year one, I would be driving all around town just picking up product and realize this is not sustainable at all. So year two, we built a relationship with a food aggregator. And so we get from them weekly a lot of the foods that I was driving around, spending hours in the car getting. So yes, I pay a little bit more for the product, but I'm not the one in the car picking it all up. So those types of partnerships have been valuable for the farm.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your farm stand and your recent upgrade. You became a victim of your own success, where the city came back and had you invest in major upgrades. I think it was in regards to handicap accessibility, or there was a bunch of upgrades they made you. Yeah.
It was a very unfortunate situation. And it gets really kind of sticky with all the logistics of it. But to make a real long story short, initially they designated us as a farm stand, which in our county, there's all these regulations, but basically you're open 6 months out of the year, 50% of the product sold is yours, and so on. And when you are designated as a farm stand, you do not have to be up to commercial code. So great, that's what we did. We built our building not up to commercial code because that's how we were advised.
Yeah.
2 years later, we kind of get on their radar, we're doing well. And they say, oh, well, this is not acceptable. You now need to be up to commercial code. And so that required public restrooms, ADA compliance, handicap parking, specific fencing, specific landscaping, and so on. So it was, I think the real unfortunate thing is, had we been told that earlier on, we would have planned around that. But it was kind of like told one thing, then that changed. And that was really tough.
So you did crowdfunding around that, and you actually crowdfunded part of the cost for that. Can you tell us how you pulled that off?
Yeah, so we ran a Kickstarter campaign, and the goal was to raise $15,000, and we raised a little over $27,000. So it was more than we could have ever imagined. And after all said and done, so after we pay taxes and after we fill the rewards and all that, we probably pocketed around $15,000. So we really kind of just hit our mark exactly.
Yep.
In full disclosure, all of the infrastructural changes we had to do was around $75,000. So we didn't necessarily run the Kickstarter campaign as a way to pay for all of our bills, but the value we got from it was a great way to tell our story and once again build our community. So in 30 days, we had over 300 people back our project, which ranged from them giving us $5 to giving us $1,000. And most people were local, but not everyone. We had other just farmers reach out in support of us. So it was tough because we debated whether we wanted to put it out there and ask people for money, but I'm so happy we did it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things when people see what they perceive as an overreach by the government, they can usually get quite behind it. So
yeah, we were able to rally people in that way for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So imagine you're standing in front of a field of future farmers, people who are kind of starting out, they're trying to get started. What kind of things would you suggest that they focus on to best ensure success?
One thing that really stands out to me is to have mentors and people you can turn to. And so whether that's like directly in your community, local farmers, or whether you're a part of organizations, it doesn't matter. Just have people when you've got this pest, you know who to turn to get, advice. I've gotten so much value from my mentors here locally and other organizations as well. Another thing is don't be afraid to invest in the right equipment and infrastructure. It's so easy starting off to just want to bootstrap everything. But, the idea of buying cheap is expensive. So if you get the cheap equipment and then it breaks down in the middle of the season and then you have to pay to fix it and you think about all of your lost time, it adds up pretty quickly. So I really think that investing in the proper equipment is very important. Those two things really stand out. And then something I did not do very well in year one, but really honed in on in year two is data collection. And especially when it came to my books and finances. I mean, like yield, yes, that stuff's important as well. But I've found like knowing how to work in the ins and outs of QuickBooks is very valuable, or whatever program you're using for finance.
Gotcha. So if you could pick one, what would be your favorite farming tool?
Ooh, I kind of hate even saying this, but I would say it's my phone, because I know people will say that's not really a tool. But so I use an iPhone, and we talked about how, marketing, I'm using social media. So I'm using it for that. I'm using it to take photos, so it gives me good crop data and also more for marketing. I'm using it to email clients. I'm using it to text my chefs to ask them questions. When I think about how I use my phone, I'm even using it to manage our Airbnb. So it's like, there's tons of farm tools I love, but probably the one that gives me most value is my phone.
Absolutely. That's a good one. So Jenny, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate your time today and look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Oh, thank you so much.
There you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.